Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of TV and Us, a conversation show about the TV series we just can't stop talking about. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And each season we focus on a different show, reviewing it episode by episode, and we invite you to watch along with us. Right now, we are chugging along through Alien Earth, and we are on episode 5, titled In Space, no one, ... It's a very dramatic episode title, honestly.
It is. And it's fitting, too, for the contents of this particular episode.
Yes. Yep. If you haven't watched episode 5 of Alien Earth yet, we're about to dive fully in. This is your spoiler alert. Go check out the episode. Go watch it before listening to the rest of our conversation about it. So, Sarah, episode 5, what is the episode summary for In Space, no one, ...
The summary is, an outer space vessel in peril leads to a dangerous reckoning.
Oh, very dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
A dangerous reckoning.
Yes.
You know, there's actually a reckoning in this one, unlike Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, in which no one reckons with anybody.
Hello. I love it. I love that you're coming in hot with hot takes about Mission Impossible, which are correct. But I love that we're starting right there. This is going to be a fun episode.
This is going to be fun. Oh, this is what happens when you record in like the middle of the week, you know, in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, and you just a lot of feelings about things. Okay. Well, let's start off with our episode summaries for this 5th episode of the season. Sarah, what is yours?
Mine is perambulating.
Ooh, yes. A very big word.
Very big word.
Yes.
I was impressed by our guy. He used it wrong, but I was impressed that he used the word.
He tried.
So
he
did
try.
Indeed. That was nice.
My episode title is Saboteur.
Ah, indeed. Yes, that was. It is so fun.
Okay, well, let's dive in. This is episode 5. We're now marching towards the second half of this season. And I would say, based on our last episode conversation, like, we're definitely much more warmer to this season of television than we were when we started this journey. So that's very good. Episode 5, did you enjoy this episode? What are your thoughts about this 5th episode overall? How does this work for you?
Okay, so I'm gonna be that guy. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm gonna be that guy. This episode, I think, is the best episode of the show so far, which makes me angry because this is what I've wanted. This is the show that I wanted, was this. And instead, we've been messing around over here with like synthetics and all of this, and it's interesting. There's a lot of cool themes. The visuals are really cool, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted what this episode does. I had so much fun in this episode. I had a ball. This is great. I'm annoyed that we have to go back to synthetics land. So that's how I feel about this. It was really great. I'm sure it's going to tie in beautifully. I'm actually excited about this like Yutani boy meeting that's going to happen. I think that's going to be interesting. But like the whole time that I was watching this episode, I was like, why have we been messing around with Wendy and them for 3.5 episodes when we had this? This is great.
She's coming in hot, y'all. I love it too.
Yeah.
We got feelings today.
We do have feelings today. Look out, world. So yeah, I really liked this episode. I had so much fun watching it. I think it does so many things that makes Alien great. It did it here, kind of like bringing it into today and showing us these other aliens and all of that. So like, I had a really fun time with this one. How about you?
Was this episode like summer camp where it's at the end and you're like getting ripped away from all of your friends and all of this world that you've spent time in because you have to go back to school, you know, and you have to go back to Boy and Wendy and the Lost Boys, and you're just like, but I want to stay here, Mom, Dad. Like, I had fun here. Why
I
are you
think
taking me away from space?
yeah, I
Back
think it
down to,
was
like, Prodigy
yes.
Neverland Central, where you don't wanna be, clearly.
Yeah. I think it was more of, like, where has this been for 3.5 episodes? Like, why did we do this in episode 5? You know,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I will see once the season is finished if this is like the right place for this episode to live. But
Yeah.
for me, I was like, this is what I wanted from the beginning. So like I guess it was like enough time for me to finally be like, yeah, okay, I guess this is what we're doing with Wendy and them. This is okay. And then all of
Just
a
when you
sudden it's like,
forgot.
oh no, just kidding. We're gonna give you exactly what you wanted, just like 3.5 episodes late. Uh so, I don't know. We'll see where the show goes from here, but yeah,
Sarah,
for me, this was
just
really
when
fun.
you forgot and left your hope behind,
Mhm.
it came
Yeah.
back to you with the
It's
vision
rude
of what it could be.
because now
Much
I'm gonna be disappointed
Yeah,
when
you're
we're
gonna
not
be
in
pissed when we're
space.
back. You're gonna see Wendy and Joe's face and be like, "Ah, these fools.
These guys
I was
again.
trying to follow you, and now that I know what I could have, I don't want you anymore. I don't want
That's
this."
exactly how I feel. I'm like, "We gotta go back with these dudes again." Okay, I guess we'll do that. That's fine.
I think what you want is, like, an alien movie with Moro. Like, I think that's what you
Yeah,
want.
dude. That sounds great.
'Cause that's what this episode is. Honestly, I was
I'm
like, "This is an alien movie shortened down to an hour
yeah.
and maybe, like, a little less of the climactic, like, longer stretches of fun stuff." But, like, we have the crew, we have
Mhm.
the creatures, we have some chase sequences, we have some scary stuff, and then we have an ambiguous ending. That's an
Mhm.
alien movie, and we stay in space the whole time, and there's some, like, vague commentary about, like, capitalistic corporations that are running the whole thing. We get a little bit of mother in there. Like
Mhm.
it's the perfect like recipe, but instead of making like a cake, we've made like a banana bread. You know what I mean? Like it's instead of the full thing, we get like a loaf
Yeah,
instead.
yeah. We get a little
That's
mini
what this
cake.
feels like.
Yeah, we don't get the big bunt cake, we just get a little mini bunt cake.
We get
That's
a
what this
mini
episode
bundt
is.
cake of an alien movie, which
Yeah.
is what you want. Which is
Yeah.
I wonder like what everyone has been wanting. Um My hot take is like, I think this was really fun. I loved episode 4, and I still
You
stand
did.
by. Episode 4 was thrilling because it introduces all of these fun ideas that I could explore. I don't know how I feel about how the show is exploring them, but I liked that I'm presented with like the first 2 paragraph prompt, and then I can go think about what I want next. And I might be really mad with how they finish the story after paragraph 2, but I loved paragraph 1 and 2. So, on the whole, this was such a fun episode, honestly. Like, there are some really thrilling sequences, which I'm really excited to talk about. I guess we've given the spoilers, so we can dive into some of it. Um, I loved the whole like escape of the bug coming out of the encasing that it's in, and we know that these aliens are highly intelligent, but it was really fun to almost feel like we could see the aliens scheming and observing and noticing this window of opportunity and choosing to take it. And it's great to see that the show allows for that scene to breathe and have as long as it does to indulge in all of the juicy goodness of seeing every little detail of how those two aliens almost work together to plan their escapes together. So I think that sequence shines the most for me because it's not necessarily all the big explosive fun spectacle stuff that we do get, and it's satisfying to see, but it's this slow tension that's building, and then we get the water bottle sequence afterwards, which is so good. We just got to record and review 7, and we praised that ending scene for the presence of the box and how much time that we get to feel that we as the viewers know what's in the box, and yet we know that our characters have not found out what's in the box yet. And I feel like that water bottle is a great moment of tension and suspense done so perfectly. So there's all these little fake outs too that the show does, which is so fun. So yeah, I think those 2 sequences are what make this episode absolutely shine for me. There's lots of other things that we'll talk about, but yeah, I'll start with those 2.
No, those are some of the really interesting scenes. Like we know the big like flashy stuff that happens, the explosion, the xenomorph, like it's all cool.
Yeah.
But I think those moments were the ones when I felt like I was like leaning in and like what's going to happen next, you know? Like
Mhm.
we know that someone is going to drink the water bottle. We know that that's going to happen. We just don't
Yeah.
know when and who. And I
Who?
love how
Yeah.
many times the episode really like fakes you out about it, and somebody comes in right at the right time so that the doctor lady doesn't actually eat or doesn't actually drink the water bottle. I
Yeah.
loved all of those little bits. I also appreciated her interacting with the octopus eyeball alien. I don't
So
remember what it's
cool.
called.
I
But
love
like
that thing.
it's so cool. It's
It's
so
so
creepy.
cool.
Ugh. Um,
I
but
love
I
it.
love that you see the film or the TV show trusts us that we know what's going on because we see the scientist in that like viewpoint of the eyeball where it's round and you see all the little versions of
Oh,
her kind
so
of
good.
sprinkled around. And so we know that the octopus is staring at her. And then we see it from her perspective staring. And so I loved all of those little bits, how the alien tries to like almost like warn her by like banging on the
Yeah.
tube when the other alien starts to come out of it. Like I loved all of those little details as we're starting to learn a little bit about how these different aliens work and the ways that they can either like work together or work against each other. I thought that that was really interesting in the end
Mm.
with the eyeball octopus alien and the xenomorph. And
Yeah.
at one point, they're like communicating with each other, but then they
Mhm.
start to fight each other. And I found that really interesting. Like they can talk to one another, but they're not friends. They're not partnering up in this. There's some sort of like, there's beef between these two different aliens. And so I find that really interesting too. So there's all these little details throughout that I think are really interesting in the world building, especially with these new aliens that we haven't been introduced to before.
Yeah. Yeah, and the lack of understanding that we have about how they work and how they operate is what creates that intrigue and excitement and anticipation because they are unpredictable, and that's what makes them exciting because we have no idea what they're going to do next and what their powers are. And that's reflective of how the protagonists that we're rooting for also have that gap in understanding that we have as the audience. So we kind of can relate to our crew and we can relate to the scientists where they underestimate what how highly intelligent these creatures are. And so when the lid comes off, I love that her partner says, "Oh, you must have forgotten to put the lid back on." Like, oops, human error. And I love that it never crosses their mind even to consider that that alien is smart enough to have figured out how to get itself out and take the lid off itself. The pride and the hubris of humans that they believe that they are better than and can subdue the aliens is kind of a really common theme in the Alien franchise in general. Like every scene that we see up until this point in the Alien movies where they've gotten them in these little glass structures. I'm like, I mean, that's cute, you know? Like, that's nice, but my gosh, you have no idea what you're dealing with. And just that lack of awareness about how powerful nature is once again really satisfying for me to see. I love to see when we get it wrong. Oops, that says more about me maybe, but it's true.
No, it's so interesting. Like it would be fascinating to kind of like ponder why we as humans like to
We're
watch
so great.
stories of, you know, like prideful people falling and getting it wrong, like why we are attracted to that particular archetype. But
Yeah.
the other thing that I appreciate about the way that, you know, this new information about Alien unfolds for us is the characters catch up like fairly quickly to our understanding of the xenomorph. Like when we
Oh,
first go
yeah.
into the med bay where the two guys have the face huggers on them, they've already discovered the acid blood
Yeah.
situation. So I love that we don't have to sit there while they're figuring it out about the acid blood. Like, we don't have to watch that scene because we've all watched Alien. We don't need to watch that again.
Mm,
So I love that this episode knows when we can like fast forward a little bit and
yeah.
our characters are able to catch up to some of our knowledge in a way that doesn't feel cheesy or rely on any exposition, but it's just like, oh yeah, we already discovered this. It's an additional problem that now we have to solve. I thought that was a really smart way to go about it.
And in fact, like we pick up from when they're dealing with, now what do we do? And we also pick up from their discovery much later that they've overestimated, which is no, this we've slit this thing and it seems to be dead, but it is not dead. And the powers of observation that we have when we judge that something is died is wrong. And honestly, we should just throw out our entire understanding of what we can observe out the window when it comes to like interacting with aliens, because they can self-create or they can drop their eggs somewhere else and recreate themselves again. Like, we should just assume they're always alive at this point. You know what I mean? And I think that's also them correctly arriving at one conclusion, which then is now leading them to the next conclusion that is wrong. And kind of, once again, the satisfaction of that too, of like, oh, you figure that out, but you didn't figure this other thing out. And once again, you've made assumptions that are incorrect. I don't know why it's so satisfying for us to watch people make incorrect assumptions, but it
It
really is.
is.
And I think it's probably seeing just how like feeling and perhaps relating to the fact that like we as human beings feel like life is unpredictable and
Mhm.
so many things that we make plans for don't happen that way, and there's something comforting almost of watching other people discover that same truth about reality, which is you will make your plans and you will assess the best that you can, but there's just kind of this unpredictability of life that is true for everybody, no matter if you're this important space crew on this important mission or you're just an average Joe watching Alien Earth episode 5 on your couch. Like, it is the same, and there's something oddly comforting about that, I think. And also knowing that you're not in that situation and your situation is perhaps a little bit better, then there's also comforting too, to see. um it goes so far back in literature, just the hubris of man being continuously uh broken those balloons with our little pin needles. It's just satisfying.
I also I love that. This episode will make you feel better about your life because you are not trapped in a spaceship that is a missile hurtling toward Earth with a bunch of deadly aliens loose. Like, I mean,
That's what we need to unwind after a long day.
honestly, though, I was like, you know what? Things aren't that bad right now.
Yeah.
I'm not being chased by a xenomorph. This is
Xenomorph,
great. I
yeah.
can handle this.
I also don't have to answer to mother on like with
Mhm.
green letters on a screen. Uh, Also, thank God, I do have to answer to like my probably like place of employment and other organizational structures that
Mhm.
exist. So once again, the feeling of camaraderie, but not as
Yes.
bad as it could be, is really great for us as viewers. One of the things that I think was a really fun concept that I almost wish, once again, that this 1 hour episode was actually just a 2 hour movie so they had more time to explore some of this, is the concept of them realizing there's a saboteur on ship with them. And we almost figure that out too quickly and have that confrontation too quickly, and then he dies too quickly. And I think that's something that in a 2 hour movie would have been so juicy for them to fling accusations at each other or have suspicions of each other or have that like long middle section where they all know one of them is a mole, and yet they're all suspicious of each other, and the way that it binds people together in stronger loyalties, but then also maybe breaks friendships apart, breaks relationships apart. Like, I think that bringing out the best and the worst of human nature is such a fun premise, and it's just such a shame because obviously this is an hour long episode, they don't have time to do that, but the premise itself was so fun and juicy that I wish we had just more time to really tease that apart. But oh, I think it's just so thrilling being stuck somewhere, knowing one of you is the one. Feels very like Agatha Christie, like novel of you're stuck in some house somewhere in the countryside, and one of you is the killer, and we're dropping like flies. I think that's just like so fun. Things are going wrong, and you don't know who it is. It's great premise. Not enough time though.
Mm-hmm. Ugh, yes. Agatha Christie in space. Give that to me every day of the week. Like, let's go. I love a good, like, locked room mystery, and that's exactly what this is. Um,
Yeah.
that's another, like, archetype that we really love, that, like, classic trope of a mole hunt. Like, why do we love
Yeah,
that? But we do. It's so
we totally do.
fascinating to watch people try and figure out who it is. There's also that like really quick conversation between Zaveri and the female scientist, where Zaveri's like, "Hey, did you sabotage my ship?" And she's like, "What? No."
No.
And then she's like,
Cool.
"Okay,
Let's
come on,
go.
help me." Like, I think I loved that. I thought that that was so funny. And I'm like, yes, stick together, ladies. But also, that could have been a really interesting thing if we had more time to see and start to
Ooh.
create doubt where there was so much trust initially, and start to doubt, like, oh, maybe she's not telling me the truth. Maybe she did do something with my ship. Maybe there's something
Yes.
shady going on with her, and start to like seed, that doubt in that relationship. That could be teeing up a whole
Yeah.
interesting storyline and the whole trail that you could go down. But like you said, we only have an hour
I
for this
know.
episode, which again, I'm going, why did we only have an hour of this cool alien business? Why didn't we have a whole season of the cool alien business? But we will
Yeah.
see once the season is over if they went the right direction, or if I will still have wanted an entire season of what this episode is.
Well, and that's what I think you and I would eat up, which is like a season long of like a morality play of a locked room mole hunt with larger than life, big character personalities, which we have with this crew, and just watch the way that the loyalties and the trust builds, shifts, alliances are formed and then broken across all of the different relationships in this crew. That would have been really fun to see. And at the same time, these alien foes are being broken out and unlocked and breaking out of their very thin little tiny glass cages, and the way that each of them choose to fight against the aliens and spare the aliens because some of them might have affections for them or want to study them, and but then that's sketchy, and like all the suspicions forming. And I think that would have been so fun to see, just like this morality play of human dynamics and human natures as they suspect and build trust or break trust with each other. We would love that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would
Yeah.
be so fun, especially if you have a really interesting foray of colorful personalities that are all very different in nature, which I think that based on this episode, we have in this crew. They're all wired so differently. Some of them seem to be more bumbling and simple minded, and some of them seem to be really focused on research and evidence, and some of them are more emotional and long for relationship and seek to curb their loneliness. Like that is a really great set of very differing motivations, that are all very reflective of like the natural like types of people that we have in our orbit. Oh, it would have been so fun. But again, not enough time, and not what this show is interested, or this version of the show is interested
Mm-hmm.
in. So
Which is all right.
cool.
Like we have come around pre this episode to the way that they're doing things. And so we'll see post this episode if we, mostly me because I feel like I'm going to be extra salty.
Mostly you.
If mostly me will come around to post this episode when we're back with Wendy and them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that there's so many interesting possibilities that this episode shows, that like what this show is capable of. And
Yeah.
instead, they've gone in this other direction, which is a bold choice because this is very different. This show is very different than what we've seen from the Alien franchise before, which is
Yeah.
great and interesting, and it's grappling with some different things. So I understand why they went the very different route, because like what
You have
we're
to do something
describing is like
fresh.
very in line with Alien and the other movies. Um, so I get it, but we'll see where the last few episodes of the season go. And I don't know. We'll see how we
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah. You could argue that like the approach that they're taking to do something so different and fresh and lofty is perhaps uh a safer choice because at least they're differentiating themselves versus trying to deliver the same spirit of what people love about the franchise but doing a worse job of it. Like I wonder if that was part of the calculation of like, you know what, let's take this wider like macro philosophical approach to this world and explore those themes versus to try and give people potentially this thrill and the spectacle of something that maybe like doesn't have the budget that could deliver on it the same way that the rest of the films could. um I think, man, I think that the burgeoning plotline around the way that Boy Cavalier also has his own schemes against Utani is really interesting. And I hope that that grows to become more and more and greater over the rest of the show. Because I think the concept of like corporations fighting each other in these like micro contexts is like really fun and really interesting. I just hope they do it well because otherwise it's a little bit cheap of like, oh well, of course that they have all of these like beef and agendas with each other, but I would like to see those agendas really clash and complicate with each other, and for those deployed representatives from each of their corporations to also like change their stances. I think that would be really fun to see too. But clearly, we've seen Utani have a very clear agenda here, and it seems Boy has had a far larger agenda than what he seems to be showcasing so far. Which that reveal, I was like, okay, I like this. You better take good, you know, do well with this thread line that you're gonna pull if you're gonna pull it. So I'm hopeful
Mm-hmm.
about that.
Yeah, it's
Say,
definitely setting up this confrontation that we're going to have in the next episode, which, we talked about it, I think, in the first episode of how cool it would be to have this really like political episode where you have the two factions that are kind of, going at each other in this really like, I don't know, just like charged episode where they're each fighting for what they want, and trying to bargain and, manipulate each other and backroom deals and all of that. And that's like
yes,
what we talked about in the first episode. And I'm hoping that we get some of that in the next episode because that would be really fascinating to see, especially because we know how willing Boy is to color outside of the lines and
well, yeah,
uh, cross a lot of boundaries. Utani isn't any better. She's also sucks.
yeah,
But we've seen how, I mean, it's probably not the entirety of how far Boy is willing to go to get what he wants, but we know that he is going to do some shady stuff. And then for Utani to get to the position that she's in, she also probably had to do a lot of shady stuff too. So it's going to be fascinating to see these like two corrupt corporations trying to like outmaneuver one another, trying to out corrupt the other.
yeah.
So I hope that that's a really juicy, meaty episode that we get next. That would be fun to watch.
And who will stoop lower? Yeah. There also seems to be so much time in this episode that I was thinking about spend on Morrow and his backstory and developing this deep emotional investment in him. So it feels like our guy that we have loved to follow is going to have a pretty significant story arc transformation journey that he goes on, whether it's to defect and go his own path or fight for something bigger than himself or become really jaded and cynical and have that used to like fuel his agenda. We don't know, but I think that there's clear intention to invest in our relationship with Morrow that's spent just sheer screen time with his daughter and some of the flashback sequences. And I'm like, well, clearly Morrow is going to be important somehow because we've spent lots of time from the show getting us to care about him so much more deeply. So I feel like it'll be fascinating to see what they do with this character. I mean, he interestingly has been the one to ask like when is a machine no longer a machine. So I hope to see that his trajectory is he's developed his own consciousness independent of Utani and is gonna kind of like break free from the powers of control that they have over him, whatever that even means in the context of a cyborg. human consciousness. I don't know how that
Mhm.
all works, but
I
something
don't
cool.
either.
Break free, Moro.
Yeah, yeah. You make your own decisions, buddy. But
Yeah.
the detail with Moro, there's a couple of details actually with Moro that I really liked in this episode. One is that we learn that in the previous episode, when he tells Slightly his name, Moro
Yeah.
actually uses his real name. He didn't
Mhm.
give him a fake name. And so I think
Mhm.
that that is also interesting, that
Mhm.
Moro actually was vulnerable and he was honest with Slightly. He
Yeah.
betrays Slightly because, that's what you do to get what you want. But I thought it was interesting that he didn't give him a fake name, but he was truthful.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing that I really appreciated about Morrow in this episode is that the whole episode he's going back and forth with Zaveri, and he's like,
Uh,
you can't be captain, I'm going to take over, I'm going to be the secure, I'm the security officer, I'm the next in line, you're unqualified. Like, he's having that like private conversation with her the whole episode basically. And
yeah.
then it's not until the end, when she freezes, that he actually takes over. But then after that point, he doesn't badmouth her, even though he
Yeah.
has an opportunity to. He and the other dude are walking around looking for the aliens, and the other guy asks him what's going on with Zaveri, and Morrow changes the subject. And so I thought that that was really interesting, just from like a character perspective, that he's, even though he's been bickering with her the entire time, he's thought she was wrong the entire time, he is
Yeah.
still not willing to talk badly about her at the end. And I don't know, I loved that little bit about his character. He does a lot of shady things throughout these episodes, but I thought that that was nice, that he wasn't willing to demean or degrade her when she's in this really, really vulnerable moment.
Mhm. Mhm. He's such a confusing character because he clearly has such conviction with every choice that he makes, and and seems to be following like a set of values or a code that is bigger and higher than himself, even when they're wrong, or even when we view them as twisted, I should say. um he does care about more than just like calculated choices for his own gain. Like there's something that he answers to, um, that's beyond himself. It's not just a blind loyalty for to the corporation, which is different from a lot of the other characters that feel a little bit more like focused on short-term calculations of what they can get the most out of for every situation. Whereas seems to be an incredibly principled being. And whether those principles we agree with or not, we still can see that he is choosing to align to some sense of what he believes is right in every given situation. And that makes him really fascinating because that means that when he aligns what is right to something different, like he will go to the ends of the earth to honor that in some way. Whereas I think for most of the other characters, we don't see that as clearly. Perhaps they're just focused on survival, or they're focused on a task that has been given to them to care for well, and kind of a little bit more narrow minded or short term minded in how they think about that. So maybe a lot of times with the scientists or whatnot, they're focused on getting the results without thinking more beyond the moral implications, the sense of right and wrong, should they or shouldn't they. They seem to operate at a much more tactical level, and more I was thinking like, I don't know, at a macro level. So we'll see what they do with that character. I think it'll be fascinating to see either direction he chooses to take. Um, any other big things that we wanted to mention with this fifth episode before we give out some awards?
There are just, I think, two quick, like, visual things that I thought was really interesting. Um,
Yeah.
One shot that I absolutely loved is toward the end, when Zavari is looking in the window into like another room. I forget where she is, and you see the xenomorph coming up behind her, and you
Yeah.
see it in the reflection. I was like, that is such a good like slow burn. You know that the alien is coming even before you see it, and then you finally see it in all of its horrific glory. It was such a cool way to frame that shot and build that tension and horror, and then of course the chase starts. But I
Yeah.
loved that little moment. It felt so like alien-esque. I loved it. And then the other thing that I thought was really interesting is that when Morrow kills the saboteur, that is a kill. A knife like straight through his center, and he's like holding him up, like, wow,
Yeah.
what a way to murder a dude. But then in like the following scene, you see the Xenomorph do to Shmuel, the engineer, what Morrow just did to the saboteur. And so I found that really interesting that you see those two kills visually are
Back
so
to back.
similar to each other. That
Yeah.
Morrow and the Xenomorph maybe have more in common with each other than you might think, because one is an alien and one is not. So I don't know, of all of the different ways that Morrow could have killed the saboteur, they chose to do the exact same way that the Xenomorph killed its prey. And I found that very notable. Also just cool visually to see. But I was like, we've made some choices here.
Intentional
And
choices.
I'm
Yeah.
curious to see if there will be a payoff or if that was just a really cool visual way to show the kill. We will see.
Yeah, and also showcasing like that learning mechanism that is so terrifying that the aliens have.
Mm-hmm.
That they're so highly intelligent and taking in everything in its environment and multiplying its abilities and its powers faster than any of us as the viewers or as the characters in its orbit even realize. That is truly terrifying. Um
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some great visuals. Honestly, just a thrill ride over the course of this one episode. You could watch this one episode in isolation, honestly, and it'd be a great time. Like you actually don't need to know anything
Yes.
else about the show. So if you don't want to watch Alien Earth, just watch episode 5. If you want a little alien bun cake, mini bun cake.
Honestly, that's exactly what this is. Oh, it's so much fun. It's such a fun episode.
Yeah,
Ugh,
that's great and well executed too, like you mentioned.
yes.
The visuals. Okay, TV and us awards. So the first category is for most human character. What is your choice for this one?
I want to give it to Malachite for not knowing the difference between biology and geology and then basing that wrong information, allowing that to dictate the course of the rest of your life. That feels very, very human. That you think you
No.
know something, but you actually don't, and then you make a lifelong commitment based on that incorrect information.
Well, and you're also just like, well, it's kind of the same, right? It sounds the same, therefore it is the same because that's how that works, right? Right?
It's so good.
My choice for most human character is honestly just everybody in the crew. I feel
Mm,
like we've spent so much time in this dang show around synthetics or really powerful, weird, twisted humans, and it was kind of just nice to like be in the mess hall with some human beings that like interact like human beings. I felt so foreign to me that I was like, oh yeah, because they're humans. That's why this feels kind of comforting because we've been around like just created half consciousness, half machine beings for the entire show, or we're around humans like Boy Cavalier that are just super whack. And I just felt a comfort and a camaraderie hanging out with human beings. So that was really nice. Really nice. Down to earth moment is the next category. What is your choice for this one?
yeah, I want to give this to Zaveri, who carries a tube of dirt with her to remind her of home.
That she then, yeah, pours over her ex lover's body as a still alive face hugger is like getting ready to barrel through that
Yeah.
cryo chamber. Whoops.
What can you do?
Yeah, it's a sweet little moment, I suppose, that she uses her little bit of dirt on
Her
him.
little bit of dirt
Yeah.
before she pours out the rest in the middle of the floor before she knows that she's going to die. So, they both get a little dirt.
Right.
It's nice.
Right. A little taste of home before they both die. So
Yeah.
that's nice. My choice for down to earth moment is the two repairman men arguing about pie. How is half a pie a
Mm,
whole pie, though?
hmm
It's
Honestly,
just
relatable.
right. I'm like that is a valid question. Yeah. So we have fixations. We do that as humans. It's very
Oh,
sweet.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, when there's pie around, yes, I would like half of your pie. Why is that even a question? Of course
But
I'm
the
gonna try and get some
audacity
of
to
the
say that
pie.
half a pie is a whole pie is wild. Like I
I
am
love it.
fully on the yeah, on his side on that one.
And the fact that he
Most
had done it before too,
yeah,
like, that this wasn't his first time trying to convince him that half a pie is a whole pie. Oh,
right. Well,
it's
it's
so
sweet
good.
because it's this like moment of intimacy too that you see that these two men have on this like very
Yeah.
strange situation that they find themselves in. Very sweet. Okay, most haunting line of dialogue. What is your choice for this one?
I gotta give it to our guy Morrow, who says, "Nothing matters but the cargo."
So good. The priority, which they make very clear.
Yes.
My choice for this one is the second time mother on screen says
Ah,
acknowledge question mark. You will acknowledge me. Yes, you will because I am
uh,
mother.
yes. I loved that. And, like, you don't really know that Zaveri is going to acknowledge it, but the camera lingers for just a second longer, so you start to go, "Huh? Is she? Might she give in to her morals? Might she let those lead her instead of actually acknowledging this?" But then, of course, she has to toe the company line because of, capitalism.
Well, and mother waits like 3 seconds before like following up again. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
hold on. You know what I mean? It's like just the immediate obedience was not there. Therefore, mother is upset and mother's
Mhm.
impatient and she is waiting for your answer. It's just like it's a very like real experience for anyone that has like those interactions with like the parents that are impatient and on their last
Mm.
strand, you know, they're like, you're going to, right? 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 uh well timed, well paced.
Yeah.
Very, very relatable.
Oh, so good.
Very haunting too. Because she like follows it up after the second acknowledge with a threat that's like, well, if you don't acknowledge, like, by the
Yes.
way, I'm going to remove you from your post and replace you. So you kind of you kind of have to now. Sorry. Yeah. Mother is always
Totally chill.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally normal. It's fine.
Okay, what are you looking ahead? What are you excited for as we head into our last 3 episodes of the season? 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 3 episodes of the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. It's wild that we're
Hmm.
nearing the end here.
We
Um,
are.
yeah, we touched on it a little bit already, but I'm really curious what this, boy Utani kind of meetup is gonna go like. And then I think we talked about Moro. He's always interesting. I always want to know more about Moro. So let's
Yeah.
keep going down that train. And then I still would like to know more about Kirsch. And I feel like he is kind of a wild card in this.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see what else they do with that character. So it's kind of where I'm at. I'm very curious to see where these last 3 episodes go.
Yeah.
And does this fifth episode make sense? Like, is this where this needed to be to set up the final 3 episodes? Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what we're going to get. What new information did we learn in this episode that is going to pay off in episodes 6, 7, and 8? We'll find out.
Yes, agree, agree. Like, are we going to increase the intensity of the Prodigy and Wayland Yutani relationship? And that's why this is placed here. One of my first notes is just why cut back in time now in the storyline. In general, with our crew, please spare and cut all of the Wendy Joe sequences and give us lots more time. I want to know about Nibs. I want to find out what this means that she's pregnant. I want to understand like the aliens, their abilities as the synthetics are increasing and becoming more complex and more powerful. So I want to see what's happening with Nibs, what's happening with Curly, what's happening with Slightly. I would like to see a Lost Boys rebellion and revolution. I would also just like, yeah, what's happening with Kirsch? Whose side is he on? What is he thinking? He's such a closed box to us. So open just a flap of the box for us, please. And I don't know. I feel like I'm becoming. I think Boy Cavalier was really interesting to me and his psyche at the beginning of the show, but it's just getting less interesting over time. So either give me some more like weird, twisted like mythology that he believes in because I find that really fun of the things that he convinces himself of, or just give me some really good like corporate maneuvering. So either of the two, I don't really care, but one of them would be ideally really interesting. Um,
Mhm.
I think those are the main things. Yeah, I would love to see more of this octopus creature. Like, give me before the end of the show one more really good octopus eyeball sequence. I love that thing so much. It just looks like it's up to no good. It's so tiny and clever,
Mhm.
and it looks so cute, but you're like, oh no, it will inhabit your body and take people out. Like, I love everything about how unassuming that
Mm,
specific alien is, but it's so intelligent, and
mm.
I love that pairing. So I would like one more good octopus alien sequence in the next 3 episodes, please. That is
Okay, so
all.
here's a question that I had while watching in that like final
Yeah.
scene. It's not the final scene with Moro, but the one before it where the octopus and the xenomorph are facing off. And so like if you had to choose to be chased by the octopus thing or to be
Ooh.
chased by the xenomorph, what would
Yeah.
you choose? Would you want to go
I
out
would
by the
choose
octopus eyeball or the xenomorph?
Xenomorph hands down. You know
Yeah,
why? Because this
agreed.
octopus eyeball thing, I feel like it's gonna like evolve, mutate, become like it's creative.
Mm,
You know, the Xenomorph, it's got its tried and true like over decades of a franchise. Like we know what it can do, and we
mm,
kind of know its power. But this octopus thing, I just feel like it's you look at its eyes and it's got creative ideas. I look at the Xenomorph and I'm like, you've got like primal instincts, and like that's
mm,
very terrifying, but like I will run as fast as I can and try and fight you as fast as I can. This other thing I think is gonna just like, I don't know, come up with some new innovations that I cannot anticipate,
mm,
and I would not want to
mhm,
choose that for myself. So I would rather choose big bad Xenomorph
mhm.
over schemy, scrappy octopus eyeball
Yeah.
thing. What's your choice?
No, agree
Choice of foe.
100%. I
Okay.
think the idea of an eye octopus coming in and burrowing itself, ripping
Oh,
out my eyeball and burying
right.
itself into my body and taking over my brain? I don't know.
Yeah.
Nope. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
More
Whatever the
insidious.
xenomorph is gonna do to me is going to be painful, like, the whole, like, tail through, like, your center, and that gross. That
Yes.
would hurt a lot, but at least I wouldn't have somebody else controlling my brain. So I think for me, xenomorph 100%.
So we're choosing pain over the
Yeah.
loss of agency, is what I
Mhm.
could distill this down
Trillion
to. Hands
percent.
down any day.
Yes. No question. Get that octopus eyeball away from me. I don't want that anywhere near me. Xenomorph, let's go. I will lose, but that's
Right.
okay. We're fine.
Right. Yeah, because when I'm running from Xenomorph, at least you will know it's me running
Mhm.
towards you. But if I'm running towards you as Octopus Eyeball possessed, it could be me, could not be me. I would hate to do that to our loved ones. Come on. We do not want to deceive around here. I need my screams to be the most authentic that
Mm,
they are,
mhm,
and that will be true running from Xenomorph. So, yeah, we're choosing
mhm,
truth over deception, is what I'm hearing. This is a very righteous choice, a very,
mhm,
very
mhm.
stand,
Absolutely.
and
You
the
know,
choice of integrity.
yeah, yeah, moral rightness is important, which is what we
Right.
learned in the last episode from Moro. So, we're just continuing that forward.
Which one would I rather be is a different choice. What's your answer?
Ooh. Oh, would I rather be?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't know enough about alien or the octopus eyeball yet.
Okay,
But the
based on what
octopus
you've seen.
the
You're not
octopus
going to get out of
eyeball
this
is
question,
pretty
Sarah. You're
cool.
going to try and.
But I don't feel like I have all of the information to make this choice, Jen.
I see. You're doing
I don't
that
know.
thing
I know, I
that
am
you do
doing
so
that thing.
well.
I
Yes.
gave you a 100% answer just a second ago, though. Does that not count for anything?
Yes, I will take that, and I will also still tell you that you're
Okay.
doing the thing for the
Can I
question.
say here's my non-answer. I am leaning toward octopus eyeball, but
Okay,
I reserve the right to change my answer as we
fair.
learn more about octopus eyeball.
Okay, so we'll revisit this question again when we review the finale and we
Yes.
have as much information as we can. You are more than welcome to say, you know what, Xenomorph all the way. That's
Yes.
my choice of fighter.
I will
Not
make
a
a
foe,
decision
but
by
a
the end
fighter.
of the
Yeah.
season, but I don't feel like we know enough yet.
Okay, fair.
But
Fair.
I'm leaning toward octopus eyeball, but I would like more information. Are you
Yes.
octopus eyeball 100%?
All the way. And I reserve the right to change my answer, though likelihood's gonna be
Yeah,
low.
yeah.
I'm gonna choose deception and creativity every time. I've gotta fight somebody else.
As long as it's you doing the deceiving, we're good. You
Oh.
just can't be deceived yourself. That's where we draw the
No,
line.
no, and I would not, as myself, want to deceive my fellow man, but if I am no longer a human, my
Yeah,
gosh.
YOLO.
Let's have some fun, shall we? And you know that octopus is having a great time. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Like
so much fun.
it's there's glee and there's delight in its eyeballs. I see it. I just want to have some fun. If I gotta take people out,
Mhm.
you know?
It's
So
true. The xenomorph is like all business. It's like, I got a
yeah.
mission.
It's like
I got
it's
to
got a
protect my
task.
eggs. Like, I
I
got to take some
know.
people out. Like, it's very all business. Where the octopus is like,
It's
there's a little
maniacal.
whimsy there.
There's a little whimsy. Right. I would like to choose whimsy over business.
Look
Any
at you.
day.
Way to
Any
go.
day. Oh, well, can't wait to revisit this combo very soon in a few more episodes. But in the meantime, this is our review and discussion of episode 5 of Alien Earth. You can find it available to stream on Hulu. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of TV and Us. Our name sums it up. We're big fans of TV and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories, so everyone is welcome here. And we're so glad you spent time with us today as we continue our journey through Alien Earth. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review letting us know if you would choose to fight the Xenomorph or the octopus eyeball creature. You can connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at tvnspod or email us at tvnspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on TV and Us and our other podcast, Movies and Us. And we just recently launched the And Us Living Room. Sarah, do you want to give us a little spiel about the And Us Living Room?
Yeah, so come hang out with us in the And Us living room. You can get ad-free episodes of TV and Us and our other podcast, Movie and Us. You can get those ad-free a day early in your favorite podcast app. So you don't even need to use a different app, which is really, really cool. And then you can also help us vote on quarterly content. And then at a certain tier, you can get exclusive bonus content too, which is super fun. So you can learn more about And Us Living Room in the show notes or on our website. So yeah, just come kick off your shoes, hang out with us in the And Us Living Room.
So in the meantime, we will be back soon to discuss Alien Earth episode 6. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk again with y'all very soon.